Good to have you back with us on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. The world asking what's next and how. Well, the French have already responded with increased airstrikes on the Islamic State, but they also may go the route of NATO. They may initiate the NATO defense clause, which would require all 28 countries to respond to what has happened and what they suggest and what involvement they're going to have moving forward to fight ISIS. For more on that, let's turn to Joe Sestak. Former admiral, spent 30 years in military intelligence. He's running for Senate in Pennsylvania. Joe, good to have you back with us.
Good to be with you, Ed. Thank you.
What are the options the French have right now other than militarily getting involved and moving forward? I mean, I view this as their 9/11. It's the worst attack on French soil since World War II. It is clearly historic. What about it?
Well, I think that there is this possibility that they may request, as we did, that NATO come behind it, because it has been an act of war against France. But I think overarching of this, Ed, is that the United States must take the lead in recognizing that we have to have a different strategy than what we're doing today against ISIS. By and large, we've looked at ISIS as a terrorist organization. It is much more than that. It is a wannabe, very dangerous, ideological-driven state. I mean, it has control of a population that's equivalent to Norway's. It has a size that it controls that's equivalent to Belgium. It has $2 billion in assets and gets $600 million every year in revenues. And now it has a foreign policy, which is really a state-sponsored terrorism, just like Libya did on Gaddafi. If we don't look at it in that way, militarily, we will be doing the wrong thing. Like, why 50 special forces? What's the metrics for why that's the right answer? So we have to change how we look at this with our strategy overarching in conjunction with France and others in a grand coalition.
It's not a matter of territory, as I see it, Joe. It's a matter of targets. And they have the ability to hit targets globally. They're now threatening Washington, D.C. The president said before the attack on Friday that ISIS is contained. Of course, the attack proves otherwise, I think. So your conversation of a different and broader strategy clearly, I think, is the common sense of all of this. But moving forward, and I see the president meeting with Vladimir Putin, couldn't the Russians be our best ally in all of this?
Without a question. And
even though they want Assad and we do not, there still is ISIS there that needs to be defeated. So how does this play?
Ed, you hit it on the spot. And you and I talked about Putin before, that his being there can be an asset to us. We need, as I said, first and foremost, this grand coalition where the adversary of ours may be, in a coalition of convenience, our ally. So this includes Iran, this includes Russia, Saudi Arabia, that we want to make sure that they, like us, take down ISIS. So politically, diplomatically, we have to bring about this grand coalition. Now, that may mean in the discussion that we have to live with Assad a lot longer than we would like. But guess what? He is not directly threatening us. And right now, it's ISIS that threatens us with its global reach. But second, Ed, you had a very important point about targets. Right now, our targets have been with our air power, by and large, on the tactical battlefield. If we treat ISIS like a state, that means we should be doing what the French did today. We gave them the intelligence to go after the power structures that undergird a state, the headquarters of their government, which we haven't been doing even though we've identified them. And it means the oil fields in northeast Syria from where they get much of their $600 million annually. Our strikes, our air power strikes, need to be focused on what undergirds a state, not just on the tactical battlefield.
If this isn't a 9/11 wake-up call to the Muslim world that recognizes Islam for what they are and who they are, what is that moment?
Well, I strongly believe, first and foremost, people bring who they are into a religion. So this isn't the religion. This is people who have brought their own violence into Islam, in my belief. So it's these terrorists that are these violent people that are doing it. Number two, yes, it's a wake-up call to them. I mean, even Saudi Arabia, Sunni, is opposed to ISIS, which is Sunni, and it basically helped create. And this is why people are waking up there. Egypt, where the beheading happened. Libya, where damage is being done. And so this is a moment where the diplomatic skills of John Kerry, of the United States of America, are most needed to have Russia, have Iran, which has lost 3,000 of its soldiers down there, and can actually be brought in a coalition of the willing at this moment. Because this is not for us to have the boots on the ground. This is for those surrounding nations, and Russia and Iran, where they have common interest of ours of taking down this illegitimate state, ISIS.
Joining us is Admiral Joe Sestak, running for Senate in Pennsylvania, also spent time in the Congress, 30 years in military intelligence. We now enter into what do we do with refugees? And the conversation is breaking out on the political spectrum about what the Obama administration plans to do with Syrian refugees. This is Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes.
We're still planning to take in Syrian refugees. We have very robust vetting procedures for those refugees. It involves our intelligence community, our National Counterterrorism Center, extensive interviews, vetting them against all the available information. And what we need to be able to do, frankly, is sort out that foreign fighter flow, those people who've gone into Syria and come out and want to launch attacks, or those people who've had connections with ISIL in Syria. We need to be able to have the intelligence base to identify and target those people. At the same time, we have to recognize they're tragic victims of this conflict. They're women and children, orphans of this war, and I think we need to do our part, along with our allies, to provide them a safe haven.
And, of course, opponents of that are saying that this is way too dangerous. This is Senator Marco Rubio, who's running for president.
Listen, the background checks are required now. The problem is not the background checks. The problem is we can't background check them. You can't pick up the phone and call Syria. And that's one of the reasons why I've said we won't be able to take more refugees. It's not that we don't want to. It's that we can't. Because there's no way to background check someone that's coming from Syria. Who do you call and do a background check on them?
Joe, what's the reasonable and efficient reaction here?
Two images come to mind. One, yes, that terrorist that came in with refugees from Syria and did damage to Paris, but also of that young baby that was carried from the water out onto the beach. I headed the Navy's anti-terrorism unit. I worked in intelligence as it flowed to the President of the United States when I was on the White House staff as Director of Defense Policy. The United States of America has the ability to go through each person as they come in to ensure those that aren't safe are thrown out, and those that are permitted a humanitarian sanctuary for a moment of time in their transition. There's not a question in my mind that we can do the correct balance. We're America, and in my background, having watched it, we know who to not, that if we can't vet them, they don't come in. We can do this well.
Okay. Joe Sestak, always great to have you with us on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ed.